Mode.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Nick Unsworth here, and welcome, welcome. I am super fired up because I've been using surveys in my business for years, and what's so awesome is that my friend that I've got here to share with you today, Ryan Levesque, is someone that has cracked the code and has generated over literally 3 million leads. You guys are going to die when you hear the story, but over 3 million leads, 200,000 customers across 23 markets, over 100 million bucks in revenue. And the coolest thing is this is in all different markets. I'm always hearing, well, does it work in being a business coach and it works for you, you're a business coach or you're in the make money, market. What about the other markets? And what's so much fun and what I'm so excited for you guys to see and discover with this is that there's actually more opportunity. If you're in my world, as a business coach, there's so many folks that are coaches like me or marketers and what have you. So if you're in a market like mine, that's awesome. You're going to be able to leverage this strategy. But if you're in any other type of niche, this is a great way to also just increase leads, customers, and grow your business. And so what I want to encourage you to do before we dive in and before I bring Ryan on, I want you to just give me a yes in the chat box. Give me a yes, and let me know if you can hear the audio okay. If I'm coming in loud and clear. All right, all right. So awesome, awesome. So we got a lot of you guys on, which is great to see. We got Brian in the house, fire starter. We got Ben in the house, fire starter. We've got Ann Esteban. We've got Megan, Charles, Julian. We've got Greg, Alex, Dottie, Aaron. We got Michael, Eric Moeller in the house, fire starter. So we got a lot of guys, too many to name, but we are delivering this live. So what's going to happen in a little bit is I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, and Ryan's going to crush some awesome content. And the great thing is, you can ask your questions here at the end as well. And so, what I want to encourage you to do is to really just focus. It's one of these things where I very seldom bring on special guests, and it's only if they have something that is so awesome to share where it would be a disservice to you to not share with you. And this strategy, this funnel is so good that I'm excited to share it. So I want you to really just be here, be present, put your phone on silent, just really just get your notepad out, pen ready to rock. And I'm super excited to introduce Ryan Levesque. What's going on, brother?
Nick, thank you so much, my man. It's an awesome introduction, and I'm really, really excited to be here. So thank you, my man.
I love it. I love it. Well, cool. Well, I'm just going to turn it over to you and rock and roll.
Awesome. So I'm going to do the same thing. You guys hear my audio okay? Sound good? Just let me know. Sound nice and handsome. Let me know that my goofy face is not that much less handsome than Nick's. Smiling. Awesome. Okay. Indeed. Get some good sounds. Great. Yes, loud and clear. Awesome. Let's do it, guys. So what I want to do today is I want to show you what's come to be known as kind of a weird ask formula. It's something that I've used to generate over 3 million leads, 200,000 customers across 23 different markets, and generate over $100 million in revenue. So if you guys are ready, I just want to dive right in. You probably noticed that I speak fast. So we're going to be covering a lot of ground. We're going to be covering a lot of immediately actionable information that you can apply directly into your business. So I want to dive right in. Now, the first thing that I'm always wondering whenever I attend an online training presentation like this is, my number one question is this something I can use in my business? Is this something that's going to be relevant to me? So I want to answer that question right up front. Who is this for? Well, if you're launching a new business, if you've got a new product that you're trying to kick off, or if you've got a project that you're trying to get off the ground, or if you have an existing business, but you've struggled to make cold traffic work, whether that's Facebook traffic, whether that's Google AdWords traffic, whether that's YouTube ads, doesn't really matter the type of traffic source as you're going to discover in a moment. Or if you're tired of having to rely on joint venture traffic, running internal launches to keep the lights on, or if you simply want an evergreen, proven funnel that you can build once and then set it and forget it, so something that you can build once and that will work for years and years and years, as you're about to see, or if you happen to have clients in any of those situations, so if you're a coach or a consultant, you work with people in any of those situations, what I'm going to show you is what I consider to be the holy grail of online marketing, which is how to convert cold traffic into customers. Now, I totally get it. Sounds great. The question is, how are you going to do this? Well, the answer is this. Now, specifically, because our time is limited, what I want to do is focus on 3 areas of what you see here, which is the exact process that I use in market after market, as you'll see in just a moment. I want to focus on 3 of the immediately actionable highest leverage areas of this process, which you see in these 3 red boxes, 1, 2, 3. Now, by the way, before we go any further, whenever I've done this presentation in the past, I've always got a few people who said, hey, Ryan, I didn't get a chance to kind of capture everything on this page. So here's what I want to do. If you would like a copy of this flow chart, just do me a favor in the chat, say, yes, Ryan, I want this. Yes, I'd love a copy of the flow chart. Like, hell yes. Just give me like a big hell yeah. Tell me you want it. And here's the deal. I'm going to do a count real quick. And if enough people are interested, Nick, I might ask you to remind me. What we'll do is at the end of this, at the end of the presentation, I'll just make sure there's a way for you to get a copy of this.
Perfect.
Charles,
yeah, we got a ton of yeses.
Hell yes. Yeah, send it to me. Michael says hell yeah. Ann says yes. Hell yeah. Ashley, Julian, Chris, Ben, Melissa, Dotun, Mike, Kathy, Johnny. I got a lot of hell yes. Brian, Greg, thank you, Charles, Dottie. All right. Okay, you have me convinced. Holy moly! It's like everyone on the call. This is crazy. I want chart. I love that. That is awesome. Yeah, so I'll give you a nice high-resolution version of this. I know some of the font's a little bit hard to read. Funny enough, I've had people that have gone to Kinko's. They've actually blown the high-resolution version up. They printed it up, put it up on their wall. I have people that have sent me images on Facebook. They have it as the background image on their computer because they're using this to chart their entire business. So cool, we'll do that. So going back to the question I asked, which is how to convert cold traffic into customers, the question, again, is, well, how do you do this? This is an ode to the Muppets and Swedish Chef. How do you do this? The answer is you ask people what they want. But you have to do it in a counterintuitive, indirect way. Now, by the way, in case you're not familiar, earlier this year, I published a book. The book is called Ask. You may have heard of it. By the way, who's heard of Ask? If you say, yeah, I know it, or if you're not familiar, I'm just curious, how many people are familiar with the book or even have read the book? Say, yes, familiar with it. Yes, no, maybe so. I'm just curious. It'll help me kind of tailor the presentation based on kind of what your level of understanding is. Read it, yes, 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 awesome. Okay, so a few people are familiar with it. That's great. So the book came out of nowhere to become the #1 best-selling book in the country across all categories. It became the #1 book on all of Amazon across all categories, LA Times, #1 book, USA Today, Publishers Weekly, and it came out of nowhere. And it beat out books by people like Malcolm Gladwell, Tony Robbins, Jack Welch. And I think the reason why it became so successful out of the gate is the process really resonated with people. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go deeper than what I was able to do in the book. And I'm going to be revealing some specific things that you can take from my process and immediately apply it in your business. Now, I mentioned that the secret is asking people what they want, but you can't do it directly. Because, as we all know, whenever I bring this up, inevitably someone says, well, wait a second, you can't ask people what they want. And a quote comes up that you might be familiar with. Because after all, Henry Ford said if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have told me faster horses. And more recently, Steve Jobs is famous for saying, people don't know what they want until they see it or until you show it to them. Now, the reason why those quotes ring true is because they are true. You see, it is true. People don't know what they want, but they do know a couple things. #1, people are really good, and by the way, this is the first writer-downer if you're taking notes. People are really only good at answering 2 types of information in the context of asking them something online. The first is past behavior, right? If you and I were hanging out and we're just like maybe at Starbucks chilling and I say, hey man, or hey lady, as a married man, it's very, very rare for me to have that situation, but I might say, hey, you want to get a bite to eat? And the next question is what? What do you feel like? And then there's that dance. If you've ever had that situation with someone, right? You have that dance where it's like, I don't know, what do you feel like? Well, what do you feel like? Because people don't know what they want. But in that same situation, if I had asked, well, what did you have for dinner last night? Right? Like I know we had pizza at 600-degree Pizza here in Georgetown, one of my son's favorite places. So we had pizza last night. I can answer that question definitively. I know exactly what we had for dinner. So first writer downer. First type of information that people are good at answering accurately is past behavior. People are really good at telling you what they've done in the past. You're going to see why this makes sense in a moment. Second thing, okay? We're sitting down, we're hanging out at Starbucks, and I say, what do you feel like eating for, what do you feel like going for lunch or for dinner or whatever? And I say, well, time out a second. Is there anything that you don't want? You don't feel like eating? And depending on who you are, you might say something, I don't want to do pizza, I'm trying to eat gluten-free, trying to eat healthy. I really don't want to do seafood or sushi because I'm allergic to shellfish, and that's always a big challenge, or whatever, right? Second type of information, people are really good at accurately answering what it is that they don't want, okay? So past behavior and don't want. And see, the reason why I bring this up is whenever I bring up the number of the revenue, the number of customers, and the fact that, write this one down, today, every single day across the 23 markets that I'm in, we are generating 52,000 email subscribers every single day. That's over 18 million email subscribers per year using surveys. And the reason why most people don't get those kinds of numbers is because most people use surveys wrong. And the reason why I bring up the Henry Ford quote and Steve Jobs quote is because people think the answer sometimes can't be as simple as asking people what they want and giving it to them. And the reason why is because that's true. You can't just ask that question. You have to kind of dance around it. You have to go through the side door to figure out what it is that people really want. In other words, you have to ask the right questions at the right time to the right people to figure that out. Now, that sets the stage for what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to show you how to use surveys the right way, how to begin using surveys and asking the right questions in your market today to start getting the type of results that I'm about to show you. But before we do that real quick, and I don't want to spend too much time doing this, but it's important what I'm about to show you, is to answer the second type of information or question that I'm always asking myself whenever it is that I attend an online training presentation, which is, should I pay attention to the guy delivering this training? Is he someone that I should listen to? So very briefly, if you're not familiar with who I am, my name again is Ryan Levesque. People know me as the Funnel Specialist. This is a Fox News program where I was asked to speak about online marketing, digital marketing. And when I say Funnel Specialist, those numbers are what I'm talking about. Over 3 million leads, 200,000 customers, 23 different markets, $100 million in online revenue. And some of the businesses and markets that I have applied exactly what I'm about to show you include the #1 golf instruction site in the world, the #1 tennis instruction site in the world, the #2 satellite TV provider in the United States, the #3 business funding provider in the United States. By the way, these are all companies that all of us, household names that we're all familiar with. #1 alkaline health company, companies like Agora Financial, the $900 million direct response company, companies like Guthy-Renker, Proactive, the multi-billion-dollar infomercial company, the #1 dog training property online, and the list goes on and on and on. In markets ranging from dog training to dentistry, satellite TV, business funding, memory improvement, gardening, et cetera, okay? Now, the way my business works is very simple. Companies pay my company large upfront sum of money ranging from a few $15,000, $20,000 up to $50,000 plus upfront, plus an ongoing royalty based on the revenue that we generate. And the royalties range anywhere from a few $1,000s a month to tens of thousands of dollars every single month. And that's how I've applied this formula. In addition to that, I have a small group of 20 high-level business owners who pay me $5,000 a month to get private access to me every single month. This group has been filled up for the last 18 months plus, and there's over 100 people on the waiting list for this. Now, the reason why all of this is true is because this stuff works. Now, I want to show you a few examples. So here's an example, one market, one funnel, where last year we did just under $9 million in gross revenue, $6 million in profit. And this is one of 6 funnels in this market. Here's a before and after. This is a company that I worked with to apply the formula I'm about to show you. Before working together, we were doing about $2,000 a day in revenue, and after we increased that to $15,000 a day in revenue. 1,500 email subscribers per day, losing money, 90 to 95% return on ad spend. So for every dollar that we spent on ads, we're getting about 90 cents back. And after we applied what I'm about to show you, we went to 14,000 email subscribers per day and 150% return on ad spend. So for every dollar that we put in, we get $1.50 back. Trick question. If you had a little machine in your office that you could put a little dollar in, and every time you put a dollar in, it spit out $1.50, how many dollars are you going to find to put in that machine? Correct answer is as many dollars as you can get your hands on, right? Another example. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is great, Ryan, but I don't have a multi-million-dollar business that's huge. Does this work for me? Let me show you. Here's another market. This is a business last year that did about $125,000 in revenue. Awesome. Great growing business. In the first month of 2015, we did $28,000 in revenue, and we're averaging about $30,000 in revenue. This triples the size of the business. We're on pace to do more than that this year. So we're on pace to triple the size of this small 6-figure business, having applied the formula I'm about to show you. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is great, but what about me? I'm starting at ground zero. I've got nothing. What if I'm just starting from scratch? Does this work for me? The answer is yes. Here is another business, a new market that we had no exposure, no connections, no product, no website, nothing. Took it from nothing to 6 figures within 12 months. We're doing over $11,000 a month starting from zero just 12 months earlier. And here's, lastly, the reason why I bring up this slide is most people go into the business of scaling other people's business, working as a consultant, as a stepping stone to start their own business. What's interesting about my story is in 2008, I went from earning nothing to $25,000 a month using the exact formula I'm about to show you. This is an article in Business Insider that profiled my story, how I went from leaving the hospital bed, I got very sick 3 years ago, to building a $5 million a year business, working from home. And by the way, these are all in markets outside the how to make money space. So I applied the formula I'm about to teach you, tested it on myself in 3 markets: the jewelry making market, the gardening market, and as you'll see in one of the detailed case studies I'm going to walk you through, the memory improvement market, in a business that I have called Rocket Memory. Now, very briefly, my background before getting into this whole world of online marketing, grew up, blue-collar kid, first in my family ever to go to college. It was a really big deal. Not only did I get into college, I managed to get into an Ivy League school. I graduated from Brown University, where I studied neuroscience and East Asian studies. I lived in China for 5 years. I speak Chinese nearly fluently. So 如果你要跟我讲中文的话，我们就可以了. It just says if you want to speak in Chinese, we can do the rest of this in Chinese. Now, I tell you this, and before that, before getting into the online world, I worked for Goldman Sachs, the investment bank on Wall Street, and later AIG, the insurance company. 2008, I don't know if you remember the world financial crisis, but AIG was one of the companies that the U.S. government bailed out. I woke up one day, stepped into my office, the Wall Street Journal, Asia edition, headline read, AIG to file for bankruptcy. I kind of had my oh crap moment, called up my wife, and I said, honey, I think it's time to call it quits. And I was working in Asia at the time. I was based out of Shanghai. My wife is in Hong Kong. That same day, I turned in my resignation to my boss, moved in with my wife, who was getting her PhD at Hong Kong University. We moved back into student housing after being years out of college, downsized a ton, started from scratch, and made the online business thing work. And this is what you see here, starting in 2008. Now, the reason why I wanted to tell you this is not to brag. It's not to give my ego a boost. I just want to give you the confidence that what you are about to see and what I'm about to show you has been tested. This is something that's been tested since 2008. It's been battle tested, stress tested across all these different markets. I've used it in my own businesses. I've helped client businesses in a partnership relationship, and now I'm here teaching this to you today. Okay? So So I want you to be confident knowing that what I'm about to show you works. Now, before we dive right in, one last point, and then we're going to get to the good stuff, and this is where you want to get your pen and paper out and be ready to take some notes, and that's this. Simplicity is powerful, okay? I want you to remember this point. Simplicity is powerful. So often I see people, and by the way, I fall into the same trap. Online, there's this tendency to want to overcomplicate everything, right? And we get caught up with the newest, super cutting edge, laser edge QR code, Facebook retargeting trick that's going to work for 3 nanoseconds, and then you got to chase that next shiny object. What I'm about to show you, don't underestimate the simplicity of it, right? Oftentimes the most profound things in life, whether it's the wheel or the invention of the printing press or discovery of harnessing electricity, those are the most powerful forces at play. So I don't want you to underestimate what I'm about to show you and the power in what you're about to see. So that being said, I'm going to take a quick sip of water here, and we're going to dive into the good stuff. You guys with me? You guys with me? Ready to rock?
Oh, heck yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So I want to start with mistakes. I want to start with the 3 biggest mistakes that I see with the businesses that I work with. Okay, now these are businesses, sometimes I've got a community of people and I see mistakes that people make. I'll speak at events and I'll talk to people and I'll see mistakes that people make. And by the way, these mistakes that I'm about to show you are mistakes that people make who are starting from scratch all the way through my 9-figure, most advanced, sophisticated private clients. Okay, so I don't want you to feel bad if you make these mistakes. Instead, what I want you to do is, as I go through them, I want you to just pay attention to which of these mistakes might you be making right now. And on average, people make 2 out of these 3 mistakes. Okay, so just something for you to keep in mind. So the first mistake that I see, or problem that businesses run into, is that the traffic they're trying to go after is too broad. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I want you to pretend for a moment. Let's pretend that you own a local business, right? Let's pretend that you own a plumbing business, okay? Local plumber. Let's say, for example, you're here in my home city of Austin, Texas, okay? So naturally, you say, you know what? Let's do some online advertising. Let's advertise on some keywords, right? So you advertise on a keyword like local plumber to fix leaky toilet, Austin, Texas. Slam dunk, right? Someone who's searching on that keyword, you know exactly what to put in your ad. Your ad might say something like, hey, looking for a plumber, have a leaky toilet, need it fixed? Call us at 1-512, whatever your phone number is, right? Slam dunk. Except there's just one little problem. How many people do you think are searching on that keyword every single month? Like 2 people? Maybe the guy, you probably hear him outside, the guy who's doing the trim, if you can hear the landscapers, the guy outside who's doing the trim, and some random person. That's it, right? Very few people are actually searching on that keyword, but it's easy to write an ad. So you think, okay, well, how do we make a business work if I want to scale to a keyword like, let's say, plumbing? You know, maybe plumbing is something that gets 100,000 searches every single month, or maybe 500,000 searches. And what about if we wanted to take that to a keyword like home improvement or DIY? Or what about advertising on DIY.com? Or heck, what about advertising on Yahoo.com? How do you scale? How do you scale your business? See, the challenge is as you go broader, as you go bigger, as you go after these larger traffic sources, it becomes increasingly difficult to be relevant to enough people in those channels to make your advertising work. And I'll give you an example of what I mean, the traffic that people need to go after or want to go after being too broad to work for their business in one of my businesses. So as I mentioned, we have a company, we have a business called Rocket Memory. Okay, Rocket Memory is it's an educational company. We have and by the way, you can go to the website now if you want to check it out or later or whatever. RocketMemory.com. It offers a series of courses that help people improve their memory. So it leverages my Ivy League background in neuroscience. One thing I didn't mention is I actually taught a section of Neuro 1 at Brown for 2 years. Leverages my background in neuroscience, and we have a whole bunch of courses. that help people improve their memory. Everything from memorizing names and faces to memorizing biblical scripture to helping with your MCATs and LSATs and other standardized tests if you're going to graduate school and things like that. Okay. Now, when we first went into this market, I struggled tremendously. And the reason is because almost all the traffic in this space, in terms of search traffic, revolves around keywords like improve memory, how to improve memory, memory improvement. And the problem is those short tail keywords where all the volume is don't give you enough information on the person who's actually searching for information. So what ends up happening is you have this whole spectrum of people that ranges from an 18-year-old college kid typing into Google, improve memory, looking for help improving their ability to study for a test, all the way through a 65-year-old man who's concerned about mental decline and his memory starting to fail. So the question is, how do you build a landing page? How do you build a sales funnel, a marketing funnel? How do you build a marketing campaign that needs to speak to that entire spectrum of people, those two extremes and everything in between? Well, the answer is you can't, unless you use what I'm about to show you. Which leads me to the second problem that people run into, which is not knowing why their customers don't buy. Not knowing why people in their market don't buy. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick quiz. We can make this fun. All right, so open up, go over to the GoToWebinar chat. So log in right now, get your cursor ready. We're going to do this fast finger style, okay? So I want to know the first answer that comes to mind for what I'm about to say. Okay, you ready? So when it comes to cold traffic conversion rate, the percentage of people who land on your website and convert into customers, so the percentage of people who become customers after landing on your website, what is the generally acceptable cold traffic conversion rate in percentage terms? Go ahead, type it in the chat. Only right answers. There'll be no public shaming, I promise. Don't feel bad. Just curious, what is the generally accepted cold traffic conversion rate, percentage? So percent of people who land on your website, wait to get a few more answers. We'll go before I reveal what the answer really is. Let's see. All right, 0.5%, 5%, 1%, 0. Might be 0 now, but it's not going to be 0 by the time we're through. 7%, 0.5%, 8%, 10, 3, no idea, 20, 10, 25, 1, 35, 1, 10, 15, 1, 3, 2 to 7. That's a guess. Guesses are fine, no worries. 1 to 3, 0.5, 17, 5, 105. Man, 105 would be a golden ticket. Great answers. So the generally acceptable number where you kind of want to be in the neighborhood of in terms of a starting point is 1%. Okay? So what that means is for every 100 people who land on your website in a cold traffic environment, I'm not talking about sending an email out to 10 of your friends that have known you for the last 30 years and getting a couple of them to buy from you. I'm talking cold traffic. Cold traffic, just for anyone who's not familiar, is just people who don't know who you are. Cold relationship, right? They see you on a Facebook ad, they click on it, and they go to your website. Or they see you in an organic SEO listing on Google, they click on your listing, they get to your site, they don't know who you are. Generally speaking, 1% is kind of the neighborhood that we want to be in. Okay? So which means if you're doing 2%, you're doing pretty good. If you're doing 5%, I mean, you're rocking it. 5%, that's pretty damn good. If you're doing 10%, or what someone said 30%, put it this way, 10 or 30%, you're not on this call right now, as I always joke. You're shopping for your island in the Caribbean that you're going to buy and call your own, right? You are on a yacht somewhere in a sunny location. You are not on this webinar, as much fun as we're having right now, with me. Okay? But I want you to think about that another way. So best case scenario, what that means is maybe you're converting 10%. Maybe 10% of the people who land on your website are transforming into buyers. When you look at that the opposite way, what that means is 90%, 90 to 99% of people who land on your website, all the time, all the effort, all the energy, all the money that you spend on getting those people to your website is a complete waste of time. Can you imagine doing something where 99% of what you do is a waste? See, what bugs me is in our industry, that is generally accepted. It's okay. It's par for the course. But here's the thing. The real secret to taking your business to the next level is to identify that 90% and take a portion of that and transform those people into customers. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. Which leads us to the third challenge or problem that I see with businesses that work with me, and that's not knowing what else to sell your customers. Okay, I'm going to say a sentence. We're going to go back to the chat, make this fun. This one's a little bit trickier, okay? So you overachievers, I want to see what you got. So I'm going to say a sentence, and I'm going to ask you to complete this sentence. And I'm curious to know what comes to mind first. And I have a very specific answer in mind, and it ties back to this question, knowing what else to sell your customers and why that's important. Okay, so the sentence is this. The money is in the blank. The money is in the blank. So complete that sentence, fill in the blank. The money is in the blank. And I'm just curious to know what comes to mind first, and I'll head back to the chat and see what answers come up first. Whoever gets this first will be cool. All right, money. Follow-up, bank, list, bag, upsell, resale, list, upsell, follow-up, list, bank, email list, bank, buy, list, pain, list, SEO, offer, bank, customers' pockets, not for long. Joking aside. Sales funnel, Chris says, I think retention, bank, email follow-up, list, problem, niche, pocket, message, list, Weiss. That's funny. Weiss alimony, traffic, providing value, sales funnel, awesome, list, great. Unfortunately, actually, no one got the answer I'm looking for. You guys are close. So anybody who said list, I'll give you a nice little golf clap because that's pretty much in line with what I have. Okay. The answer I'm looking for is the money is in the back end. The money is in the back end. Okay. What do I mean by that? What I mean is so many businesses, and it's okay to be guilty of this because we've all made this mistake, at least at some point in our career. So many businesses are fixated and focused on generating sales to acquire that front-end customer. So in other words, they're focused on just acquiring customers. Sell. We need more customers. Sell to more people. They're focused on that front-end sale. But the real secret isn't selling to more people. The real secret is selling what you sell next to an individual customer. The real secret is not the first thing that you sell, but the second thing. That's where the money is. The money is in the back end. Now, the challenge is once someone has bought from you, how do you get them to buy more stuff from you? The answer is you want to strategically set things up that the sale, now write this one down, the sale of your first product sets up demand for your second. I'll give you a perfect example of this in an environment that most of us will be familiar with. I want you to imagine that you step into a bar. You step into a bar. Who's the first one to, what's the first thing that is put in front of you when you step into a bar? First thing that's put in front of you when you step into a bar, go. In the chat, let's do this quick, whoever gets it first. Whoever gets it first. Peanuts, exactly. And Greg, you got it, salty stuff, right? The peanuts is a loss leader. Not terribly expensive, but they're not making money on the peanuts. They're not making money on the pretzels, whatever salty stuff they put in front of you. That first sale, and I put that in air quotes, is designed to set up the next sale. The money that they make from you is getting you to buy that drink. Okay? Now, the question is, what's the solution? What's the solution to these three problems and figuring out exactly what your customers want? Not what they say they want, not what they think they want, but what they really want, and specifically what they really want to buy from you. The answer is right here. The answer is this. Now, like I mentioned, because our time is limited, and I want to leave you with immediately action, I want to go deep enough that you can begin immediately applying what I show you here today, right now, this afternoon in your business. We're going to go deep and focusing on these three specific boxes here, which correspond to three specific surveys that are slightly unusual, that are part of that ASK formula involving asking the right questions at the right time to the right people. So without further delay, let's get into our solutions. That first problem or challenge that we talked about traffic being too broad, being able to go after broad enough traffic so that you're not pigeonholed into only being able to access a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of traffic. The solution here is the first of three surveys, which is something that I call, in my world, the micro-commitment bucket survey. Let me explain what that is. So this is a landing page. We're going to go through a case study, and I'm going to explain exactly what this is and why it's so powerful and the psychology behind it. So this is a landing page on one of my websites. This is Rocket Memory, the business I mentioned to you where we teach people how to improve their memory by offering a series of courses. Now, as I mentioned, when we first went into this market, I struggled tremendously. And I was sending people to a typical landing page with a typical opt-in squeeze page. And when I did that, here are my results. What you're looking at here is a screenshot from our AdWords account in this business. And we were generating email subscribers at an opt-in rate of 5.15%. So 5%. And a cost of $12.89 per email subscriber. So show of hands, you tell me, are those numbers good or are those numbers bad? It's actually a trick question. Those numbers are terrible. They're abysmal. In fact, they're so terrible that I almost shut down the business. I couldn't make the numbers work. And it was driving me crazy because I was looking at what everybody else in the market was doing. Sending people to a squeeze page, getting them to provide their name and email address, and voila, give them free special report on how to improve your memory, right? I was doing what everybody else in the marketplace was doing, and I was failing. So at a point of desperation, I stepped back and I said, well, this doesn't make sense. But time out a second. Let's take this back to the basics. How would I interact with another person one-on-one if they had come to me specifically in person and asked me, hey, Ryan, can you help me improve my memory? Which is akin to exactly what happens online. And what's interesting is I thought, well, what I'm doing, which is what everybody else is doing in the marketplace, is not what I would do in person. There's no way back at my days teaching at Brown that a student, if they came up to me and said, hey, Ryan, I hear you teach this memory stuff. Is there something, can you help me with this? The absolute last thing that I would do is say, absolutely. In fact, I've been helping people improve their memory for the last 10 years. And if you provide your name and email on this clipboard right here, I will give you this free report that tells you exactly how to improve your memory. Countdown timer starting now. 3, 2, 1. I mean, if I did that, it'd be like the weirdest thing in the world. But that's effectively what people do and what I was doing online. It just doesn't make any sense. Instead, here's what I would do and what I did. Someone would come up to me and say, hey, Ryan, I hear you teach this memory thing. Is this something you can help me with? My response? Hey, you're right. This is exactly what I do. But listen, before I can know if I can help you or not, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Do you mind if I kind of just get to know your situation a little bit more and find out kind of what you're struggling with, what your biggest challenge is, why you want to improve your memory, what you're studying? And if you give me a little bit of background, then a couple things. Number one, I'll be able to tell you if I can help you. And either way, I'll be able to point you in the right direction to what I think the best course of action is for you specifically. So then I thought, what if I just take that approach online? What if I flip things on its head and I ask the right questions to figure out what it is that someone really wants and steer them into one of several possible directions? Well, when I did that, here's what happened to the numbers overnight. I went from 5% opt-in rate to 12.5% opt-in rate, and from almost $13 per lead to under $5 per lead. And if in case you're keeping math or keeping track at home, that represents a decrease in cost per lead of 61% and an increase in 143% in opt-in rate. But the good news is, it gets better. Because over time, my bucket survey concept evolved to include something that I now call micro commitments. So what are micro commitments? Well, once again, I went back to my background in neuroscience, and I started thinking back to the research that I had studied. And I looked at the work of researchers like Robert Maurer, who teaches at UCLA, and others who studied the psychology of fear. And here's the thing. Whenever you ask someone to make any sort of change in their life, whether that change is a positive change or a negative change, the way your brain responds is by eliciting a fear reaction. There's a part of your brain known as the amygdala, which is part of the limbic system, which is responsible for regulating that fight or flight response. And whenever you ask someone to do something, whether that's positive or negative, online, it also elicits that fear response. So in other words, if you're asking someone to take too big of a jump, an extreme example would be, hey, thanks for coming to my site. What, by the way, is your social security number again, your mother's maiden name, and your ATM PIN card, and your bank account? Of course, that's a huge step, and people are going to bail from your website, right? And that's, I know it's a hyperbole example, but that's effectively what we're doing when we're asking people for too much too soon. But here's the flip side. You can actually hack that fear response. And the way you do it is by asking people to take a step that's so small, it literally flies below the radar of that fear-induced response. This is what micro commitments are about. So I thought, what if I try this online? Instead of asking for all this information, what if instead I start by showing people a brief video, asking them to click on that video, and then proceeding by asking one simple multiple choice question at a time that eventually culminates in an email opt-in step? What will the results be? Well, we went from what you see here to almost 20% opt-in rate and $3 cost per lead. All said and done, we were able to take our cost per lead down by 76% and our opt-in rate up 271%. Now, I get those numbers are kind of like blah, 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 math, math, math. Think about it like this. I want you to imagine right now today, let's pretend right now, you log into your Facebook account, your Google account, your Bing account, whatever you use to drive traffic, whatever you've used in the past, or imagine what you might use. And I want you to imagine that you're spending $1 to acquire an email address, right? Every email subscriber that enters into your world is $1. You acquire 100 email subscribers today, costs you $100. Pretty simple. Now, I want you to imagine going to sleep, waking up tomorrow, and that number dropping to 24 cents. How would that change your business? The good news is, it gets even better. When we solve that second problem of not knowing why your customers don't buy. And here, we're going to be covering the second of the 3 surveys we're talking about today, which is something that's become affectionately known as the Do You Hate Me survey. So what is the Do You Hate Me survey? Well, the Do You Hate Me survey is this. So we're going to fast forward a little bit, okay? And I want you to imagine that you are trying to sell your product, whatever it is that you are selling. Now, one of the things I like to do is whenever I'm selling something to a market is I try to, at some point, offer the absolute best deal that I can, okay? Now, I am not, this is a writer downer, I'm not a fan, and I do not advocate discounting, okay? Discounting cheapens your products, and it trains people to wait for a better price. Any women on the call? Maybe some men? My wife is like this when it comes to shopping for clothing. She'll go to the store, she'll find a piece of clothing that she likes, and you know what she says? I'll wait till it goes on sale. Okay? When you discount your products, people become accustomed to that, and what happens is they don't buy now, they wait for it to go on sale. You train them to wait for a better deal. But there is another way. The other way is, and this is the soundbite, lower the buying threshold. So the other way is, instead of lowering the absolute price, instead what you do is you reduce what you're asking for up front. You're making it more of a, say it with me now, micro commitment. You're asking people, instead of paying for the full price of the product, you ask people to spend $1 to try it out. Or maybe just pay shipping if you're sending out a physical product. Or maybe you ask people to pay half now, pay half in 30 days. What you're doing is you're reducing the buying threshold to make it more palatable for people to pull the trigger and try something, okay? Now, question is, where does the Do You Hate Me survey come in? Well, after you've offered the absolute best possible deal that you can, you've done that, you've done the just pay shipping, you've done the try it for $1, you've done the try it for a penny, the absolute lowest threshold that you can offer. If people still don't buy from you, you ask them, do you hate me? Why is it that you didn't buy? Now, why do you hate me? Well, do you hate me? The reason why the survey gets its name is because this is a very powerful email subject line, as you'll see in a moment, that you can use. Now, I understand some markets this is a little bit too strong, maybe too acerbic in terms of the language that you're using with your market. There are ways to soften it. Fear not. You can use language like, was it something I said? Did I do something wrong? But the reason why you want to use language like this is you want to get people's attention. You send an email out after you've offered your absolute best deal, and effectively you're asking them, why didn't you buy? Now, I want to give you an example of what this email looks like, and this is one that you're going to want to maybe grab a screenshot of what I'm about to show you, because this is the word perfect copy that you can use in your business just right here for you. And we're going to go through another case study in a completely different market to show you how powerful this can be. Ready? So here's an email. Do you hate me? Subject line. Hey, it's Ryan here, and I need your help real quick. But first, I need to ask you a question. Do you hate me? And again, I'll usually make it tongue-in-cheek, put a little smiley, winky face so they know that I'm kind of kidding. Now, the reason why I'm asking is because the other day I gave you a chance to try the XYZ program for free, but for some reason you passed. And that's perfectly fine, but it did strike me as a little bit weird, and it did make me wonder, is it because of me? Was it something I said? Something I didn't say? In other words, do you hate me? Again, smiley face. And the email goes on to say, if you could do me a favor and click on the link below in this email and tell me what's the single biggest reason why you decided not to invest in the XYZ product, it would mean the absolute world to me. Thanks so much. All my best, Ryan. So what's the big deal? What's the big deal with sending out the Do You Hate Me survey to your market, to your list? Let's go through an example. So we did this recently in a market, sent this email out to about 22,000 people. Got 7,500 people to open, 2,000 people to click, and of that, 1,009, I think, to take the actual survey. Okay, so what you see here is our Aweber dashboard in this market and our Survey Gizmo dashboard in this market. Now, when we ran this survey, the results, the answers people provided, were shocking. So first of all, there were 5 specific things that we completely missed in our marketing. 5 questions that came up over and over and over again that we just did a terrible job of addressing. Simple objections that if we would have just put our thinking into it, we would have hit. And then there was another thing that was really interesting. We got a ton of people from a very specific religious group that we completely overlooked who said, you know what? I would have taken advantage of this offer, but this weekend I was completely unplugged. I was visiting family, I was on holiday, and had I known about this, had I been around my computer, I would have taken advantage. So we decided, in this example, we said, you know what, let's not fair to any one religious group to exclude them because we messed up on the timing. So let's do this. Let's reopen the same offer for 48 hours, and let's run a webinar, Nick Unsworth style, run a webinar to our entire list answering those questions or objections that we didn't do a good job of covering the first time around. Pretty simple, right? Well, when we did that, here are the results. We generated an additional 445 sales, representing $19,000 in revenue. Now, I get it. Those numbers in and of themselves in a vacuum mean absolutely nothing. So I want to walk you through what those numbers mean in the context of the overall original promotion. So first things first, we did 22,000 non-buyers, got the Do You Hate Me email. 7,500 opened, 2,000 clicked, 1,000 people filled out the survey, and of those 22,000 people, 445 bought, which means we picked up an additional 2% of non-buyers. Remember at the beginning when I was talking about the secret to taking your business to the next level is to identify that 90% to 99% of people who don't spend any money with you, traffic that is otherwise a waste of time, effort, energy, and money, and converting those people into buyers. This is one of the ways that you do that, 1% and 2% at a time. Now, just to give you an overall context of what this means in terms of the overall promotion, the number of buyers that we had before the Do You Hate Me survey was 1,238, which means that this survey alone represented an increase of almost 36%. So, show of hands, who wants to grow your business by 36% simply by asking people, why didn't you buy? And then addressing those people. It's pretty simple, right? Well, the good news is it gets even better. When you solve the third problem of not knowing what it is to sell your customers next. And surprise, surprise, the solution is yet another survey, the third of the surveys that we're going to be covering today, which is the pivot survey. So what is a pivot survey? Well, the pivot survey looks like this. So after you've run that Do You Hate Me survey and you figured out why people haven't bought, you're going to get a subset of people who it does not matter what you say about that original product, it just wasn't a fit. It just wasn't what they needed right then, right there, for whatever reason. Maybe it's outside their budget. Conversely, maybe it's not outside their budget, but maybe they want an option that is much more done for you. Instead of buying a book on how to do whatever it is that you might teach, they want someone to do it for them. Instead of buying a mattress at a mattress store, they'd rather just pay someone to help recommend and find the optimal mattress for them. They want a solution that costs 10 times more money, and they're willing to pay for it. And there could be a whole host of other reasons why people don't buy that. It does not matter what you say about the product. It's never going to be a fit. That is where the pivot survey comes in. The pivot survey is like, remember those Choose Your Own Adventure books from when we were kids? You'd flip to a page and it would say, all right, you're at a fork in the road. At this point, you can do three things. You're at the river. You can jump in the raft alongside the riverbank and ride the river and see where it takes you. Flip to page 69. Or you can cross the river and continue climbing up the mountain. Flip to page 123. Or you can turn around and start back at the beginning. Flip to page 17. Choose what you'd like to do next. The pivot survey effectively operates like a Choose Your Own Adventure story. And here's an example. So this is another market, just to give you a different context. And the copy, once again, something you want to screenshot, reads something like this. So, as an example, I'm like the brain surgeon who comes in, does his one piece, saves the guy's life, and then moves on to the next one. There may be 3 people in the world who could do it, and I am one of them. So, the big question is this. What would you like to talk about next? How to get more clients? How to raise your rates? Or how to productize your services? And the email goes on to read, simply click on the link above that immediately sounds most appealing, and starting today, we'll begin covering the topic that is most interesting to you. So effectively what we're doing here is you're acknowledging, hey, the first thing that we tried to sell was not a good fit, and that's cool. We're still friends. No harm, no foul. But let's move in a direction that's going to be more helpful for you. So the question is, what about the results? Well, in the previous example, if you remember, we did 1,200 initial buyers, 440 Do You Hate Me buyers, a total of 1,683 buyers, right? Well, at the end of that, we found that there were 3 directions that people wanted us to go that we could not cover in the initial product that we sold. So we introduced the pivot survey and took and offered 3 potential directions. And when we did that, here are the results. We picked up another 217 additional buyers by doing this. And in terms of revenue, again, we did about $53,000 in revenue from our initial set of buyers, about $19,000 of revenue from the Do You Hate Me survey. Asking the pivot survey, we picked up an additional $8,000 in revenue, which means that we picked up an additional $27,000 in revenue simply by using these 2 surveys that I mentioned here, which represented an increase of 51.91% to the business. Now, show of hands, who wants to grow your business by 50% simply by asking the right questions at the right time to the right people? Now, in case you're wondering, I know these percentage terms are hard to kind of get our minds around what that means. Well, that means if you did about 100K in your business this year, it'd be like making 150K next year. What would you do with that additional $50,000? Or if you made 300K in your business this year, it'd be like making an additional 150 on top of that next year for 450,000. What would you do with that additional $450,000? And by the way, in case you're wondering, that revenue that I just mentioned doesn't even include the pivot survey to buyers. So in other words, people who buy the first product, where you ask them, where would you like to go next, which is where the real money is. Now, like I mentioned, this stuff is simple, right? Simple gets results. Again, 3 million leads, 200,000 customers, 23 different markets, $100 million in revenue by combining the 3 techniques we talked about, the micro commitment bucket survey, the Do You Hate Me survey, and the prospect pivot survey, which in the context of the overall survey funnel process fit in these 3 boxes, 1, 2, 3. But if you're like most people, you might be asking, well, what about all the stuff in between? How do these things all connect? Like, for example, one of the questions you might be wondering is, when it comes to that micro commitment bucket survey, how do you figure out what questions to ask? And how many questions should you be asking? And how do you figure out where you send people based on the questions that you're asking? And what buckets or segments in your market should you be focusing on? And which ones should you actually be ignoring? And how about what happens after someone fills out the survey? What do you do next? How do you prescribe the best possible solution to them based on the results of their quiz or their survey? And when it comes to the micro commitment, when it comes to the Do You Hate Me survey, what about all the emails that lead up to that? Because naturally, the Do You Hate Me survey doesn't operate in a vacuum. It fits in the overall context of a very predetermined email sequence that's designed to tee that up perfectly. Well, what you're looking at right here is what's come to be known as the survey funnel formula. This is my process that I've used in market after market, year after year, for almost the last decade. Now, because there's so many people who are wondering, well, how do you apply this formula in your business? What I want to do is I want to walk you through the 6-week process that I go through whenever I'm entering a new market or applying this formula in a new business for the first time, so you can see how you can apply this yourself. So in the first week, we do something called the Deep Dive Survey. Now, the Deep Dive Survey is yet another survey. It's one we did not talk about today. This survey basically serves as the foundation for everything else. This is an open-ended survey where you're asking a very set, predetermined, open-ended set of questions that are designed to figure out what questions you're going to ask in your micro commitment bucket survey, designed to figure out what are the hot buttons in your market, what segments are worth focusing on, which ones are worth ignoring. This gives you a lot of your copy. So if you're wondering, well, how do you communicate with your market? It's as simple as using the results of this deep dive pre-survey. That starts the whole process in week 1. And then in the second week, you design that micro commitment bucket survey. That's like the one that I showed you in the memory business, where you're asking one multiple choice question after another to lead people down a very specific path. And then in week 3, we cover the prospect discover landing page. And basically the prospect self-discovery landing page, that's the page someone lands on where you're persuading them to take your survey. And I'll give you a hint. You're never going to call what you're doing a survey. In fact, to the prospect, to the person in your market, they don't even realize that they are taking a survey. Okay? You have to position it in a very specific way for people to be compelled to go through this process. And that's what you do in week 3, is design and build out that page. Then in week 4 is where you cover what happens after they fill out the survey. This is where you figure out what it is that you're going to sell someone immediately after they go through that survey intake process. Week 4 is where we build out what's called your profit maximization upsell sequence. Remember we talked about the money is in the blank, the back end? This is where the back end starts. This is where you're selling not the first thing, but the second and third thing. And there are 3 very specific structures that I use where your first sale sets up that second sale so that demand is created in the same way that when you're handed a bowl of peanuts or salty snacks, you're going to what? You're going to be thirsty. And then in week 6 is where we design a predetermined autoresponder email sequence, which incorporates the Do You Hate Me survey, the pivot survey, and other surveys that we haven't even got a chance to cover. And this is a process that works both for prospects and for customers. Now, whenever I've offered this training in the past, one of the biggest questions, which we'll talk about in just a moment, and what the investment is to get access to this training, and spoiler alert, it's less than what you might think. One of the biggest questions I've always been asked is, what if I'm starting from scratch? What if I don't even know if the market that I'm in or the product I'm thinking about launching is something even worth pursuing, right? If you're in that situation, tell me, like, raise your hand, say, yes, I'm in that situation. Like, I don't know if my market is right. I don't know if the product I'm working, I don't know if there's demand. I don't even know if it's worth pursuing. Well, there's a secret that I have. There's a reason why I've had such a high success rate out of the gate in market after market. And it's because I follow a very specific process. It's come to be known as my Greenlight Project Checklist. It's a very specific scientific approach that I use to evaluate every single market, project, or product opportunity before you get started. Okay? Now, this is a process that I use that quantifiably will tell you, is a market something that you should pursue further? It's based on an algorithm that I use that incorporates the amount of competition, that incorporates the search volume, that incorporates a projected email conversion rate and landing page opt-in rate, that breaks down exactly what you might expect a market to generate in terms of revenue, that tells you, is this a green light, a red light, or a yellow light? One of the things that this incorporates is what I call my 5 market must-haves. 5 things that every single market that I look for must have. Now, this is a program that I've sold previously for $197, and when you move forward with me today to get full access to the entire survey funnel formula course, which I'm going to explain in just a moment, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give this to you for free. It's my gift to you. So that way, whether you're starting a new business or new market or new product now or down the road, you'll have the exact process that I use so you can have that same exact level of confidence before you move into anything. Second thing, whenever I've offered this training in the past, one of the questions people have asked is, Ryan, I get the process. This is brilliant. It's scientific. It's quantifiable. It's very easy to follow step after step after step. Love it. Brilliant. But one thing that I've noticed about your funnels when I've seen your examples that you share in the training of what this looks like is that your copy is really good. Your copy is very compelling. It's inspirational. It inspires people into action. And I know you've invested a lot of time mastering writing copy that converts, but I haven't invested my 10,000 hours. What do you recommend? What I'd like to do for you today, this is special, when you move forward with me and get access to the entire survey funnel formula training, which I'm about to show you in just a moment, I want to give you a second gift. This is something that's valued at $500. It's a course that I developed with a marketer by the name of John Benson back in 2011, which is a program called VSL Fast Track, how to write landing page, same visit sale, and upsell video sales letters, even if you're not yet a world-class copywriter. Now, this program here, there's something you need to know about it. So when John and I released this product in 2011, we sold instantly, out of the gate, hundreds and hundreds of copies at full price. In fact, it was one of the most successful launches of all time at that time. And after we launched this product together, John approached me and he said, hey, Ryan, we're vastly undercharging for this information. In fact, I have plans. I want to sell a $2,000 to $3,000 course that delivers this training in a much more high-end situation. But in order for us to do that, in order for me to do that, Ryan, we have to take this course off the market because it's going to cannibalize the sales of our $3,000 course, which basically covers much of the same material. And so he and I went back and forth, and eventually we came to an agreement. The agreement was this. Number one, no longer available for sale. Took the course off the market. You cannot buy this course anywhere. And that's why you haven't seen it, or you might remember it from 2011 but haven't seen it since then. But not only is it the same base material that's covered in another program that sells for over $3,000 today, but when I negotiated my agreement with John, while I could not sell this course any longer, the agreement was that I could give it away for free to anybody who had become a client of mine or a customer of mine in a different way. And so I'm going to give you a copy of this course for free when you move forward with me here today. Now, in case you're wondering, is there value in this today? Is it just as relevant today as it was 3 or 4 years ago? And the answer is, well, here's what Jonathan had to say just a few weeks ago. He said, so I was waiting to jump into the survey funnel stuff, so I jumped into the VSL course and was able to create a funnel that's converting 250% better than my old video. This is just a few weeks ago. So the question is this, and by the way, I'm going to get to Q&A, so if you have a question, you can fire it off into the chat, because I'm going to spend time answering as many questions as I have time to answer today, and anything that we covered and more, so we'll get to that in just a moment. But one question you might be asking yourself is the $64,000 question, which is, how much is this thing going to cost? So I get it. So Ryan, you've got this 6-week training course, this recorded course, that teaches how to build a survey funnel using your exact methodology from scratch with no detail left uncovered. How much is it going to cost? Well, considering what I charge private clients to build one of these funnels, which ranges in, again, $25,000 to $50,000 up front plus tens of thousands of dollars a month in royalty, you might consider that this is something that I might only sell for thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, I've gotten pressure in the past that this should be sold at the same price point as John Benson's VSL course that sells for $3,000, or people like Jeff Walker's course that sells for $2,000, or people like Nick who sell some of his products for multiple thousands of dollars. But it's not going to cost you multiple thousands of dollars. It's not even going to cost you $1,000. It's not even going to cost you $500. Instead, you can get access to everything I mentioned here today for just one payment of $197. And you can do so by visiting this link here on this page, surveyfunnelformula.com/Unsworth. And Nick, if you do me a favor, would you mind just typing that URL into the GoToWebinar
For sure.
for us, just so people can click on it? And with someone on the call, would you just do me a favor and go to that link and just make sure that it's going to the right place? I've made mistakes in the past where I've typed in the URL wrong. I just want to make sure that it is working. And I'm going to go to awesome. Awesome. Can someone just let me know? Link working in the chat. Say link working. All good. Otherwise, I'm going to assume it's not working. I'm going to have to pause the presentation and check it out.
No, you are good to go. Link has been put in the chat box for everybody, and looks
awesome.
good. And it's a heck of a deal.
Awesome, awesome. So listen, I want to say a few things. Okay, so so first, if you haven't asked yourself the question I'm about to raise, you should be asking yourself, which is, I don't get it. What's the catch? Like, Ryan, you're supposedly making millions of dollars a year using this formula. Why are you effectively giving it away for next to nothing? What's the catch? Well, there are two reasons. Okay, so the first reason is the same reason why I published the book. So as I mentioned, I alluded to this. 3 years ago, I got very sick. So 3.5 years ago, my first son was born. And after he was born, I started losing a lot of weight. Couldn't figure out what was going wrong. And I had lost about 35 pounds. I'm not a big guy to begin with, so that was a lot of weight for me. And I was tired all the time and had no energy. And I just chalked it up to the fact that I was a hardworking entrepreneur and I was building a business and I was a new dad and I wasn't getting any sleep and I was just burnt out. And then my wife urged me to apply for life insurance. She said, you know, it's not just the two of us anymore. You're responsible for our family. You need to apply for life insurance. And I did. I applied for life insurance. It was about 3 years ago, almost to the day that I did this. And I applied for life insurance, and I went to, immediately after, about 2 days later, I went to a conference in New York City called ClickBank Exchange, if anyone's familiar with that. It was at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. Maybe some of you were at that conference with me. And I came back from the conference to a bunch of mail on my desk, and at the top of the mail pile was a letter from the life insurance company. And the letter, I opened it up, and it was a one-page letter, and it said, denied. And I thought, okay, this must be some mistake. I'm a young, healthy male, 30 years old at the time. Thought I was in great shape. This must be a mistake. So I call up my life insurance agent, and I say I got the letter, and he says, you know, Ryan, I got the letter as well. And not only do I have the letter, but the medical examiner who did the life insurance exam faxed me your lab results, which I have in front of me as well, and I'm going to send them to you in just a moment. And you're going to want to sit down for this. And he said, Ryan, I'm not a doctor, but your lab results are literally off the charts. And he proceeded to tell me what my lab results were and went through a bunch of numbers. And then I made the single biggest mistake that you can ever make. If you're ever in this situation, do not do what I'm about to say I just did, which is I went to Google. I went to Google and I started typing in, you know, what do these numbers mean? And the results that came back were liver failure, pancreatic cancer, renal system shutdown, and a whole host of really bad things. And so later that night, we put our son to bed. He was about 6 months at the time, our first son. Put him to bed, and my wife kind of casually asked me, said, Ryan, I saw the letter from the life insurance company came in. Are we all set? We good to go? And I said, well, we need to talk. And so we sat down, and I showed her the results, and my wife broke down and started crying and immediately called the Ask a Nurse hotline and insisted that we see a doctor first thing in the morning to corroborate the results. Was this real or was this not? We go to the doctor first thing in the morning, and I hadn't ever seen this doctor before. I'm one of these guys that like never went to go see my annual checkup or anything like that. I was, healthy as an ox, athlete growing up, so I'm fine. Go to see him. He's skeptical. He says, all right, I'll get some lab results done just in case, and stick around. So we'll do the fastest turnaround time possible. It'll take about 25 minutes. Stick around, and we'll get the results. And then he comes out, and he's like a completely different person. He walks out, and he grabs me by the shoulders, and he looks me in the eye, and he says, Ryan, you should be in a coma right now. You need to go to the emergency room right now, and you're not driving. So I was rushed to the emergency room, and I ended up spending almost 10 days in intensive care in ICU. And in this 10 days, I was isolated. I was by myself. My wife had to be home with our 6-month-old son, and I was sitting side by side with a terminally ill cancer patient and a man on dialysis. And my wife couldn't come to see me. My son couldn't come to see me, and I was very isolated. And going through the ask process almost in my own mind, I asked myself, well, is this it? Like, if I get out of here, what am I going to do? Do I really want to be a secret weapon to a few select companies making millions of dollars a year, or do I want to have a bigger impact on this world? And I said, if I get out of here, I want to have an impact. And I came out of the hospital like a bullet out of a gun and decided that I was not only going to publish a #1 best-selling book, but I was also going to teach basically my secret family recipe. I was going to give it away to as many business owners as possible, as many marketers as possible, so that they could replicate the same success that we've had. And I know some people are asking, well, what is it that you suffered from? Well, I slipped into a state known as DKA, which is diabetic ketoacidosis. It was not pretty. I reached a point that my organs were shutting down. I was close to slipping into a coma. The reason why I lost all that weight is my body stopped the ability to metabolize food, so it was literally eating its own muscle tissue. I was peeing blood in my urine, and I didn't even know it. It was really bad. Had I not gotten treatment, I would have slipped into a coma, good chance that I could have died. And I emerged from the hospital at 30 years old finding out that I had become somehow a juvenile diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, and I'm on insulin for the rest of my life. And to this day, it's a medical mystery. I've seen virtually every specialist imaginable, and we don't know what caused that. But I take 70 units of insulin a day. I've got track marks all over my gut from the 5 to 6 shots of insulin that I need to take every single day, and my life has changed. And that's the reason why. It's a very long answer to a very short question, but I think it's important that you know my why. I think it's important that you know, why would I do this? Doing this because, #1, I don't know how long I've got. I'm doing this because I want to make an impact in the world, and I know that this is so powerful, and I'm going to show you how powerful this is by sharing some of the results of the literally hundreds of people around the world who are implementing this formula successfully and what it's done for them. That's the reason why I decided to make this course available at a price that anybody who is serious about their business can afford. And the second thing is this, and I want to be perfectly upfront. I know that every time that I've done this in the past, that a fraction of people, and all it takes is 1 or 2 out of every 100 people today who move forward, who say, you know what, Ryan, I'm actually the owner of a very big company, and rather than just have this course, which I love and which is great, I'd like to just hire you and your team to implement this for me. And I know that it's going to cost me $50,000 plus upfront, and I know it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars a month, but I want to do that. And I know that for every 100 people who invest in this training program today, 1 or 2 will want to move forward with me in that way. Now, I also know this. I also know that the time that we've spent together so far has been brief. And you might not know, is this something that works for you? So here's what I want to do. I want to give you an opportunity to check out the entire first 4 weeks of this course absolutely 100% risk-free. I want you to check out these first 4 weeks of the course before you even have to decide if you want to keep it. In other words, you can go through all the training, watch all the videos, download everything to your hard drive, follow all the steps, step by step by step. If you like the course, if you like the results that you get, you can keep it. If not, then all you need to do is send a 1-line email to my assistant. Her name is Kimberly. Her email address is contact, C-O-N-T-A-C-T, @rlassociatesllc.com. Just let her know that the course is not right for you, and we'll send you a full and courteous refund. It's really as simple as that. Now, if you're wondering, Ryan, I get that this has worked for you. I get that this has worked for your private clients, but what about regular people? What about people like me who are maybe just getting started, or people who don't have the same level of experience? Is this something that works? Let's go through a few examples. So you can listen to Will, who said, this is the best and most comprehensive use of the surveying and segmenting technique that I've seen to date. Or Darren, who said that he used the layering technique I mentioned, and am now getting a 53% opt-in rate from Facebook traffic after they self-qualify through a 3-question survey. Or Stefano, who says, I just tried my first version out of the gate. For a small try, I invested 1,000 euros in Facebook ads and got 1,200 euros on the front end. And this is with no upsells. So in other words, he's not even focusing on the back end. And the funnel's not even optimized, and still got a 120% ROI. Or Ronald Reich, who says, so far the project that I've implemented using the survey funnel formula has resulted in over $500,000 in revenue for my business. Or Antonio, who says, I purchased a while back. I haven't even gone through the whole thing yet. My clients have already had great results. In fact, one client has had over 700 leads generated for his business, which turned into over 6 figures in coaching clients. Or Darren, who says, ours, and he's talking about his survey funnel, and I'm quoting, so don't shoot the messenger on this, is really half-assed at this point, yet still is producing a 40% lift in total monthly revenue year over year. Or Brandon, who writes, by building a survey funnel and following Ryan's model, I was able to go from 70% ROI, so losing money, to a 150% ROI, making money. Or Corey, who writes, since buying Ryan's course, I landed a cold traffic funnel client for $20,000, 10% of funnel savings, and 1% of media spend. Or Sean, who writes, by simply following the formula and pathways Ryan has laid out in the program, I secured an $84,000 contract from his client. And you've got people like Ryan Dice, who says, if paid traffic is what you're after, then you're wise to study Ryan Levesque. His stuff is built for scale. In fact, Ryan Dice is just one of many customers of mine that you might be familiar with, as well as people like Perry Marshall, the best-selling author of 80/20 Sales and Marketing, private client of mine, has been for years, Brian Kurtz, Keith Baxter, Andre Chaperone, who's the creator of Autoresponder Madness, Ben Settle, email copywriter, Jack Bourne, creator of AW Pro Tools and a whole host of other software products, Harlan Kilstein, who's one of John Carlton's top proteges and six-figure copywriter, private client, Danny Inney, who's the creator of Firepole Marketing, is a private client, Kurt Malley, social media ad genius, client, Keith Krantz, who's one of the authors of the Entrepreneur's Guide to Facebook Advertising, client, Kevin Rogers, Michael Lovitch, and Buck Risby, who have a high 8-figure supplement business, clients, Erica Rocha, the #1 internet marketer in the Brazilian market, Steve Gray, Marissa Murgatroyd, who runs the Superhero Summit, client, Charles Kirkland, Greg Wells, Todd Brown, 6-figure funnel, client, Russell Brunson, creator of ClickFunnels, client, Dagan Smith, Jonathan Mizell, Derek Johansson, as well as a host of Fortune 500, Inc. 1000 companies, many of which that you've probably heard of. And remember, this is the same information that people have a small group of 20 high-level business owners and entrepreneurs who pay $5,000 a month to get private access to just a few minutes of my time every single week, a group that has a wait list of over 100 spots and has been filled up for the last 18 months. And you can see the other results that people are getting in their own words. And these are audio reviews. People have said in their own words the actual results that they're getting. Literally tripled their profit this year. Huge upticks in revenue right out of the gate. The survey funnel strategy alone increased front-end conversion by 100%. In fact, one call with Ryan resulted in a 25% increase in conversion. Increased sales by $15,000 per week. And there are literally over 100 audio testimonials from people and the actual results that they are getting. Just to sum things up before we get to Q&A, everything that you're going to be getting. You're going to get the full 6-week course, Survey Funnel Formula. This is a live recorded course that consists of videos, cheat sheets, step-by-step checklists, how-to videos broken down into simple 5-minute chunks that you can follow along with me step by step. Plus, the Greenlight Project Checklist. So if you're just getting started, if you're a complete newbie and you don't know where to begin, the Greenlight Project Checklist will get you started from ground zero. Plus, the VSL Fast Track program, which is worth more than the entire course itself, something that I sold previously, hundreds of copies for $497, plus the opportunity to check out everything for yourself the first 4 weeks before you even decide if you want to keep the course for just one payment today of $197. Now, one last thing that I want to mention, and I'm going to turn it over and go to Q&A, and that's this. There is a catch. And the catch is this is not publicly available. In fact, if you go to surveyfunnelformula.com, you cannot buy this course. If you go to askformula.com, where you can get my book, this course sells for $497. And you can go ahead. You can buy this course for $497. You don't get the bonuses. You can buy the course at that price. But because I wanted to do something special, and by the way, you can go to that link right now and you can validate what I just said. And I have people every single day who buy this course at $497. But here's the thing. Nick's a cool guy. Nick presented to my community. He shared his absolute best stuff on Facebook advertising, on using webinars, and I wanted to do him a favor. And I said, I want to make this available at the lowest price I have literally ever charged for this course. But in order to make this fair, there is a strict deadline. So number one, it's only available at this link that you see here. This is the only place in the world that you can buy this course at this price right now. So it's surveyfunnelformula.com/Unsworth. That is it. It's the only link That is active. Number two, the deadline to take advantage of this is this Sunday at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time, 11:59 p.m. So tomorrow is July 31st for a second, so that's August 2nd at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. That's the deadline. Now, I strongly recommend that if you are in front of a computer right now, that you do this right now so you don't forget about it. I can't tell you how many times that I've had something that I want to do, like I'm paying my bills online, I start to pay my Amex bill, I'm starting to pay it, and then it gets in the way, my kid starts crying upstairs, he bumps his head, and I got to run upstairs and take care of my son, and then I forget to pay my bill, and then before you know it, boom, I missed the deadline, I come back, and then I'm saying, crap, I completely forgot. I don't want that to happen to you today. Because if you come back on Monday after the deadline and say, crap, you check your email and you say, I totally forgot to do this, because I'm someone who is a man of my word, this deadline will be upheld. It's always upheld. And I don't want you to be in a situation where you reach out to Kimberly and you say, please, 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 can you make an exception? The answer is I can't, because if I did, I'd be compromising my integrity, and it wouldn't be fair for everybody who today is taking action. So that's the first thing. Second thing, I do want to give you a couple days in case, because I know there's some people who might be listening to this on the phone. You might be in the car right now. You might be scrambling. You might be pulling over on the side of the highway, trying to do this on your mobile phone and get to the checkout and have your credit card in front of you. I don't want you to get into a car accident, so you can do this tonight. But if you are in front of a computer, I highly recommend that you do this right now. Okay, so that being said, Nick, I'm going to take a sip of water. And Nick, I'm going to ask for your help to cover any questions that might have come up that I didn't do a good job of covering yet in the chat.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say just thank you for just hooking us up. And, I know that this truly is, a nice deep discount for you guys. We have a really cool arrangement, like Ryan was saying, where I shared a whole bunch of cool webinar stuff and Facebook advertising stuff to his community. And then he's also doing the same for us. So just first and foremost, just appreciate the discount and the bonuses. And what I'm excited about is that, I'm always talking about surveying, and I use surveys. I have used surveys, and for years in business, but I just haven't used them to this level. And what's cool is that I'm going to be using this course. I'm going to be going through it fresh as well, because this is something where we never want to bring on customers that are the wrong ones. That's one piece. But the other way is to drive in additional leads and serve them exactly what they want. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm super excited to go through it. And I know we've got a lot of folks that are fired up, and we've got some great, comments and questions in the chat. So that's awesome. And then Ryan, I'm also going to follow up with you about getting that flow chart. Get the flow chart, and we'll make sure we get the replay out. But I want to encourage you guys that if you're, if this strategy resonates for you in your business, and it's like, I can't imagine a business where this wouldn't resonate. It's such a solid, strategy and foundation. So if you're on the fence, I would just say that, look at what you're doing in your business. And, if you want to have more leads, more customers faster, and grow revenues, then, for you that, you guys that know me really well, I'm always an advocate of investing in the right resources, the right people. And, if you're on here, maybe you're one of our clients, or you're someone that's just been, hanging around the Life on Fire community for a while. I only bring the best of the best to you guys. I would never, ever, ever bring someone that I don't fully 100% trust and put my name and reputation on. And I don't think that there's anyone that would, question the integrity that Ryan has. The presentation's been awesome. I love your story, Ryan. I love, your desire to help other entrepreneurs and grow. So again, guys, if, you're ready to get rolling, I would make the decision, go to surveyfunnelformula.com/Unsworth right now. This is a special, discount on the pricing. Outside of that, what I would say is, just get into action on it. That's the beautiful thing, is that, don't just get the course and say, yeah, I'll do this 2 months from now. It's like, we're about to do our August goals. Make this the goal, just to get this out there, get it done, take the action on it. There's a 30-day money back guarantee. If you're not super happy, Ryan's just like how we operate, he's got a guarantee on it. So get into action, put it into works, and make it happen, driving the leads, driving the revenues, and you'll be super glad that you did. So I'm fired up for us to be, taking our survey game, if you will, to the next level, because it's been huge in our business. We'll do a big promotion. We'll spend a lot of money on ads, and we'll teach and do our best to add value, and we'll share the next step and make an offer, and then to reach out to that market and to say, how can we best serve you? It's like, shoot, whether it's a live event, I mean, we had the customer feedback forums, or whether it's a webinar, understanding what they want is so key, and then understanding how you can best serve them is so key. So I'm excited for you guys that are hopping on board. And I would just say too, if you've already jumped on board, I know there's a handful of you guys, just type in I'm on board or I'm in. I want to just recognize you guys. We've got Greg, got to run, but I got the course. I'm glad you're still on this side of the grass, and glad you're still on this side of the grass. I've never heard that expression.
Me too. It would
But
it'd be hard to be doing this webinar
yeah,
6 feet under.
yeah, I know, and that's a crazy story, man. I never knew that about you, dude. That's wild. And so we got Bob. I'm already in, and I'm in. We got Charles already bought. We got Byron. I am in. Kathy. I'm in. We've got and there's just a whole bunch of questions too. So I might be missing. I know I'm missing a bunch of guys, but a lot of folks are on board. And now while we have, we've got Ryan here live. I mean, I know Ryan Dice personally and Perry Marshall. These are some of literally the internet's just top most sought after experts. And, and Ryan's got an impeccable reputation in the industry, and he's been consulting them, and so it's one of these things where if you've got questions, then fire away while we have him here live. So, okay,
Cool.
cool.
Yeah, so I'll cover some of them. Yeah, scheduled for the next day. So guys, everyone who's moving forward, let me just give you a sense for what to expect next. So first and foremost, I did not mention this, but the course you're getting access to was never originally designed to be a course. In fact, it is an internal training program that I developed for everybody that I hire in my company to go through. So a few years ago, I reached a point where my business had exploded, and I needed a way to train up people quickly. So what I did is I said, well, when you come in, I'm going to go through my process, my 6-week process of setting this up, and I'm going to make you watch me in a real live situation, a real live example, and we're going to go through this together. Now, the reason why I say that is for everybody who's moving forward, you're going to be getting access just as if you were an employee in my company. So I've got 27 people in my company, and I'm going to be setting you up. Actually, Kimberly on my team is going to be setting you up with login credentials to my internal company intranet. And you're going to be getting access to the exact training that my team uses to execute on this model. The reason why I say that is there's nothing held back. This also isn't some big, fancy, shiny, information product, if you will, that was designed to be this huge launch. And so the focus is on the content, it's on the information, it's on the clarity of delivery, but it's not a big, fancy, fancy graphics or anything like that. It's a white background, very kind of simple and straightforward delivery. And the reason why I say that is Kimberly will manually approve everybody who comes in, will manually review your order, and will personally send out an email with your login information. Okay? So the reason why I say that is it's not instantaneous, it's very quick because Kimberly is very responsive. So if it's a few minutes and you haven't gotten your login information, don't stress out for that. All the training is recorded. So you'll get instant access to the first module, so you don't have to wait. You can start right now, right here today. In fact, if you're jazzed up and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go, like right now, you can kick things off right away. So there's no waiting on that. So there's a lot of people that are already in. That's awesome. Francis, I would say, yeah, just to be respectful of everyone who was here the whole time, I think that we'll try to make a replay available so you can go and check that out. Funnel diagram, yes, we got that. I'll make sure to get that. Done for you service, again, yes. I've got an entire division of our company. Starts at $50,000 up front plus a 10% royalty and an ongoing retainer. So it's several $100,000 a year for us to build this on a done for you basis. And the good news is if you're listening to those numbers and you're saying, well, that's a little bit untenable. The good news is there's a ton of room. In fact, there are entire companies now that have made their entire business executing, setting up these survey funnels for other businesses. So they have actually mastered this approach, and they are executing that. And you saw some of those examples. Sean, I showed you his example. He charges $84,000 to do one of these. Corey is another example. There's Molly. I don't think I showed Molly, but there's literally dozens of people who are doing this as their business model. Charles says, about to launch first product. Should I circle back? Should I proceed and then circle back to use this process? Charles, what I'd recommend in your case is, and we didn't talk a lot about this, but in module 1, the first module, I'm going to show you how to figure out exactly what it is that people want to pay, what they want to pay money for. And it's about running surveys and asking questions in a very specific way, and the languaging that you use, the way you analyze the survey results, the types of results that you pay attention to, the formula that you use to analyze people's responses, that's going to tell you what your market really wants. You might consider doing that survey before you launch that product or that program on September 12th, and there's plenty of time to do that, even if you just focus on that first module. And in fact, speaking of that first module, I've set things up in such a way that even if you do nothing else but execute that deep dive survey process in module number 1, you'll more than make the investment you're making in yourself today for the $197. So in other words, if you do nothing more than just execute module number 1, you're going to get a massive return on your investment. So great question, Charles. CJ says, if hundreds are doing it, then why do I want to do it too? Sort of like if there's a proven path to become an Olympic athlete and hundreds of people have taken that same path, why would you follow the same path? Well, because it works. If there are hundreds of people who have walked the path to climb to the top of Mount Everest, why would you follow the same path? Because that's the path that gets you there. So you can choose to follow your own path and stumble along the way, or you can follow the path that's been proven to work. And really, that's just a personal choice. You know, there's some people in life that like to make things difficult for themselves, and they like a challenge, and then there's some people who like results. And if you're the type of person who likes results, I know for me, I'd much rather have someone else blaze a trail in front of me and know that as long as I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and if I follow that trail, if I just keep walking, I'm going to reach the summit, rather than walking with a blindfold in the dark through the woods and wondering, am I going to fall off a cliff, or am I going to be walking around in circles? So that'd be my answer for anyone who's wondering, if hundreds have done this successfully, why would you consider following in that same success path? Does the system show you how to build the landing pages and email sequences? Absolutely. It's exactly what this is all about. Follow-up, insurance industry, not IM, is applicable to me. Again, Chris, if you saw the beginning of this presentation, some of the markets that this is being executed in, actually none of the markets are IM. Zero. Of the markets that I've executed this in, precisely 0%. 0 markets are IM. So markets range from offline dentistry to satellite television to dog training to high-end water filtration systems to weight loss instruction to tennis instruction to golf clubs. The list goes on and on. Okay, so information IM is not one of the markets, and there are people who are applying this in the insurance industry right now as we speak. What software do we use for the surveys? Well, that's a great question. And in the training, you'll see I walk through different options that you have. So I walk through if you have a small budget and you want to use a free option, I explain how to use Google Forms to run your survey. I explain how to use third-party programs like Survey Gizmo, and we even have our own proprietary software. It's called Survey Funnel Software, and I show you how to use that software, which we designed specifically for this process. The software is not a mandatory purchase. It's an extra item if you choose to go down that route, but you do not need that software to execute the process. So I walk through all your technology options no matter what budget and situation that you might be into. Survey program, Tom asked the same question. I think that covers that. And okay, great. Can we do it in less than 6 weeks? Yes. And if you want to jump ahead, when you get your email from Kimberly, just reply back and say, hey, I'd like to get access to everything all at once, and she'll explain how you can do that. Cool. Any other questions? Can you become a licensee and offer it as a service? Once you master the process, there's nothing, absolutely. You can definitely take this course, master the process, and begin charging for it. There are people who are doing that right now as we speak. I think that covers, Nick, all the questions that have come through. And knowing that we're a few minutes past where we want it to be. One last thing, by the way. As far as that free flow chart that I mentioned, here's what we've done. And just excuse, this is very simple, but I wanted to get this to you guys as quickly as possible. If you go to this URL here, surveyfunnelformula.com/free, lowercase FREE, all you got to do is just enter your name, just a simple little form that I put together, and we'll email you a high-resolution copy that you can download, print up, and blow it up at Kinko's, make it your background on your computer, whatever you want, and have full access to everything. So that's surveyfunnelformula.com/free. And Nick, the last thing that I'll say just to wrap things up is this. My recommendation, if you're not sure if this is for you, or you're still kind of like, I don't know if this is right for me, here's what I recommend. Don't try to decide right now if this is right for you until you've at least had a chance to check it out, right? You can check it out today, 100% risk-free. Remember, you can check out the first 4 weeks of the course before you even have to decide if you want to keep it. It's really as simple as that. And so if you decide after that you check it out that it's not for you, it's just not a fit, it doesn't work for your business, for whatever reason, no reason at all you got to do is send a one-line email to Kimberly. Let us know that it's not for you. We'll give you a full and courteous refund. I'm someone like Nick. I play a very long game. I'm not someone who's, Nick mentioned my reputation in the industry is sterling. I'm not going anywhere. My goal is not to make $197, take your money and run to the Bahamas. Like that's not what I'm about. You can look me up. I'm at events all the time. I speak at a lot of engagements. I run my own groups and run my own events. I don't hide. I'm right here. And so the reason why I say that is this is what I hope to be the first step in what ideally will be a very long-term relationship, sort of the relationship that Nick and I have started, and I expect Nick and I will continue to work together for years and years to come. And so that's just the way that I do business. Very long game. Again, I went to an Ivy League school, a lot of hard work to get there, I'm someone who believes in the long game and making sacrifices today that'll pay off over the long term. So I say that knowing that this is putting my best foot forward. My goal is to give you tens of thousands of dollars of value for a tiny fraction, prove myself to you so that we'll be doing something together, whatever that may be, 10 years from now. So my recommendation, give it a shot, check it out, surveyfunnelformula.com/Unsworth. I look forward to seeing you inside. Everybody who has already decided to move forward, I look forward to seeing you inside and working together. I'm pumped. This is going to be awesome. Have a great rest of your afternoon. And Nick, thank you so much again for the opportunity to share this and be with you. And everyone who's on the call, thank you for taking the afternoon and spending it with me. I know your time is precious, and I just want to say thanks. Take care.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you, Ryan. And you guys have an awesome, awesome rest of your day. And I can't wait to catch up with you soon. Cheers, guys.